Well, good evening and welcome. This is Under the Sun. I'm Suraj, and tonight we're taking a proper look at where things stand for Chelsea Football Club because right now there are more questions than answers. What's gone wrong? Is it the system, the players, the manager, the direction of the club in general, or a bit of everything? And more importantly, what comes next? We'll break it all down over the next hour, tactically, structurally, and of course, honestly, we'll keep it a buck here in this channel. General or a well, thanks for joining in, Cape Baldy. We'll be covering everything Chelsea. As this, I'm going to treat this as a therapy session here for me. This is what is all about here. I'm not sure about France and Brazil. The international break doesn't really bother me right now. It's all about Chelsea and how we're going to navigate just under 2 months left of the season. How are Chelsea going to achieve their objectives? How are Chelsea going to manage? And the last 7 games, if you look at our fixtures remaining, it is an absolute nightmare. So how do Chelsea try and navigate that? We'll all try and break things down in this stream. It's the international break. I wish there was some club football, but unfortunately we'll have to wait. But for Chelsea's point of view, this is the perfect time for the international break because we were in the worst form imaginable. 4 back-to-back losses, 2 in the Prem, 2 against PSG, and a nightmare in terms of not able to keep clean sheets, conceding goals for fun, and our inability to score goals. It is really concerning. How is Liam Rosenior going to start and turn things around? He's immediately coming under a lot of pressure. I called for his head after Everton's game because I just saw a clear lack of a vision in terms of how we're going to try and take this forward. Even if we somehow manage Champions League football this season, it's not going to be because Chelsea have been good. It's only because Liverpool, Aston Villa or Manchester United for some reason don't manage to get the job done. Chelsea's fixtures are a nightmare. I mean, we've got City and United both at home, granted, but our home form is an absolute nightmare. It's been terrible, especially under Liam Rosenior. Can't forget the games against Leeds and of course Burnley, where we had the leads in both games, threw it away in ridiculous fashion. So our home form towards the end of the season, especially with the likes of Manchester United, Manchester City, and of course Spurs, Liverpool away at Anfield, it is going to be possibly a nightmare for us. Look, the first thing I wanted to touch upon with Liam Rosenior is our identity. Now, under Enzo Maresca, it was pretty clear as to how Enzo wanted us to play. Granted, he had about 18 months at the club at the time, but we found a nice little balance in terms of how we were defensively and then going forward. Granted, under Maresca, we were having problems with Joao Pedro's not getting involved as much after a really good start to the season, but then his form went crashing down, and then that changed when Liam Rosenior took over, and then we saw the ascendancy of Joao Pedro. Now, there have been positives, but the negatives outweigh our positives. I mean, look, we have a lot of technical players in our team, right? Very good with the ball, can turn with tight spaces, link up. But the man-to-man approach that Liam Rosenior is implementing at Chelsea does not work because Chelsea do not have the athletes required to play that role. Because once they are bypassed, Chelsea are in real trouble. And if you look at the goals we've conceded, it all stems out of panic everywhere. It's panic. Somebody's trying to put out a fire. It's reactive defending rather than proactive. The back three no longer exists. We are now with the flat back four. Our 2 centre halves, either one of them picked, even from our bench, just not good enough. Trevor Chalobah and Wesley Fofana are our 2 senior centre halves, and both of them in the last couple of months, oh my goodness me, they have been a car crash. But the subs do not help either. So how is Liam Rosenior going to figure out and sort out those 2 in the centre half is going to be a huge key going forward. Now, how did Chelsea solve that? We'll wait and see. But then I want to talk about patterns. Now, patterns can be positive and negative, right? It's amount of how you guys gel as a team, how you try and pop the ball around. Patterns, the way you build out the back, your attacking patterns, how often you test the goalkeepers, things that you see in a repetitive manner. Now, I have started to see a few negative patterns from Chelsea's point of view. The ability for teams to cut us open from the central areas is starting to emerge, and it is really concerning. It happened against Everton, it happened against Newcastle. PSG kept carving us open in this match. So we know that Chelsea do have that problem. But in terms of the positive, what is a negative in terms of us not able to defend those transitions, the way we pop the ball forward and use those central areas has been really effective now. So it's a positive and a negative, how Chelsea strike the balance, that is going to be a huge key here. What's up, Kashishpal? How are you, brother? I'm going to talk a lot about Arsenal as well in this stream. Don't go anywhere. I would love to touch upon of course, the Carabao Cup final, which may not be in your favor, but when I talk about the league, I'm sure you're going to get a huge smile on your face. Cape Baldy, you're saying that Liam is getting the sack. Now, I'm not sure whether or not you got some official news or Chelsea have done something in the meanwhile, but I'm going to assume that he's still not sacked. He's going to somehow get to the end of the season. Chelsea have talked a big game, right, as to how they're going to back our manager. We saw this against Graham Potter as well. We are going through a nosedive, and then you just put on some positive brief to get the fans on side, but the fans, oh my word, have they turned on Liam Rosenior and then some. Look, Liam Rosenior talks a good game, right? In the press conferences, he tries to be deliberate, smart, and everything about how Chelsea are supposed to be as a team going forward. Now, while he talks a good game, I have not seen it on the pitch, at least. We've seen it in spurts, in bursts, but nothing more than that. In terms of discernible patterns, reputable stuff, it has been really, really poor. Now, Kashish, in terms of Chelsea, this is a Chelsea stream. My stream is going to be dominated with Chelsea talk, so do get used to it. Now, okay, since you're here, let's do this. Fuck it. Let's do it right here, right now. I had a flow, Kashish, but, we're going to chuck it away. It's live. We're going to talk about Arsenal now. Look, we're not going to talk about a Carabao Cup yet, but the league for Arsenal, it's done, isn't it? I mean, 2003 to 2004, I'm going to take you back. Our balls had barely dropped, Kashish. Imagine we were, 10, 12 years old, barely, like in the adolescent phase. That's the last time Arsenal got the job done. Now, you cannot lose it from here. It's as simple as that. You look at Arsenal's remaining fixture. You take out that City game, right? Because Arsenal do have that 9-point cushion. Granted, City have a game in hand, but Arsenal can even afford to lose at the Etihad Stadium considering the remaining fixtures. Now, Arsenal have not been imperious in the last couple of months. A few results that we saw, especially the ones against Wolves where they were 2-0 up, should have closed the game out, 2-2 towards the end. Lackluster in some games going forward, but the defensive structure, the solidity is there, but Arsenal just finding ways to get the job done. It may not be pretty, but it's damn effective. And after City dropped points inexplicably to West Ham United, it just feels that was enough for Arsenal. That pretty much signaled the end of City's resistance and Arsenal to go and get the job done. Now, it's Arsenal. Anything can happen. I completely agree. And what might trip Arsenal up is their involvement in all the other competitions. Now, the Carabao Cup didn't go according to plan. Keep that away. They have a really good chance of going deep in the FA Cup. The Champions League, of course, is very much favourable. I mean, if you asked Arsenal fans which was the side of draw you want to be, who are the opponents you want to take on, this is exactly the side that they would pick. Playing Sporting Lisbon should be a formality. And then, of course, playing Barcelona in the semi-finals, you never know what can happen in that. The top of La Liga taking on the top of Premier League, anything can happen. But Kashish, it's the thing, right? Even if you lose to Manchester City, the rest of the games, you just cannot afford to drop points. And even if you do, your superior goal difference, I think you have a +7 in terms of goal difference compared to Manchester City now. That's equivalent to an extra point. So enough cushion for Arsenal to get the job done. I mean, if you can't get the job done here, right now, with 7 games to go, 6 years into the Arteta project, £1 billion spent, then I don't know what you're going to say, man. This is it for Arsenal. Look, it may not happen. And that's the thing. The only thing that can possibly trip Arsenal up is the focus on other cups. And they have to go for it. It's not like they can prioritize the Champions League or the Premier League. So it's going to have to be both because that winning momentum has to keep going. Now, look, City have gotten that huge psychological advantage of beating Arsenal in the Carabao Cup final. And it was emphatic. The scoreline fully reflected it. But Arsenal know that they don't have to really play in that manner against against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium because even a draw won't be the worst result, but they can go for it, man, because Arsenal and Arteta need to make a statement win here. Look, that draw against Liverpool at Anfield, that loss at home to Manchester United 3-2, unexpected. I mean, those 2 results shouldn't have happened. So you just feel that Arsenal need that big result to really stamp their seal on the Premier League title. It's been a long time coming. We expected bumps in the road, and Arsenal, after cruising in the early stages, had that bit of a wobble, had opportunities go 9 and 10 points clear, but kept dropping needless points. The draw to Sunderland, Wolves, as we mentioned before, and countless more. The Manchester United defeat especially was puzzling, to say the most. So there is enough there for Arsenal. Even if they don't have enough in terms of goal-scoring threat, as a team, they will figure it out. So Arsenal to win the league. Well, it's been a good start to the stream. I didn't expect it to go so quickly. It's been a good flow, but I still have so much to talk about Chelsea, man. There is far too much to discuss. I have points. I have enough in my head to make this a lengthy-ass stream. So bear with me a minute. Well, Kashish, are you ready about the calls tomorrow? How are the YouTube videos going? List me your top 3 poker players. No, it's going to be fun tomorrow. I can't wait. By the way, Saturday I might have to, I think it's evening work or afternoon work, but late night scenes. On. Kashish, defending champion, life's on the line. But yeah, we talked about before I got diverted about talking about Arsenal. I want to talk about Chelsea, right? And one of the biggest frustrations with Liam Rosenior has been Chelsea's inability to play out the back. Now, that aspect of our game has completely gone. We look like strangers in possession, trying to pick teams open with our passing game. It has been really, really poor. Now, look, Chelsea not having Levi Colwill has been hugely detrimental to our season because he was our main progressor. He was the guy who used to take control of the ball and whip those line-breaking passes. Trevor Chalobah is decent in that aspect, but if you look at Wesley Fofana, Mamadou Sarr, Josh Acheampong is good at carrying, but in terms of passing, we're just left with 2 good centre-halves. Now, Levi Colwill was stripped in terms of his ability to enter the season, right? So Trevor Chalobah had to step up. Enzo Maresca was begging for a centre-half. He wasn't given one. He was asked to look for solutions within. It never came. Enzo Maresca gets sacked, and the rest is history. Now, if you look at Liam Rosenior, right, our ability to build up is completely gone. I mean, how can that be possible? It's the same players. Now, we went from a 3-2-4-1 to now a 4-2-3-1, right? A traditional setup. Now, Liam Rosenior is not looking to reinvent the wheel, but in the 3-2-4-1, Chelsea had a lot of balance in the central areas, which allowed us to not get countered in those central pockets because we had enough players in there, and the wide areas was emphasis. We're just creating those 1v1 situations. Our wingers under Enzo Maresca got so many touches, and that was another problem, that he prioritized the wings when the likes of Pedro Neto, Garnacho, or even Gittins were there, and not utilize our central players a lot more, like the likes of Joao Pedro, Enzo Fernandez, and the rest. Now look, Moises Caicedo started off the season brilliantly, right? The first 2 months he was magnificent for us, but then his form with the red cards that he picked up, and then just the inconsistencies, and then under Liam Rosenior has been far below his standard. So it's been a real dip from Moyes' point of view, but he's been playing an insane amount of football, and that's where the likes of Andre Santos, Dario Sugo, and Romeo Lavia need to try and step in and shoulder some of the minutes from Moises Caicedo, because I expect Moises Caicedo to go 90 minutes week in, week out for the next 7 games. Is that sustainable? I'm not sure, but I don't think Liam Rosenior will have any other options, because our starting 11, as many problems as it has, it's very limited, but the options on the bench do not help us at all. So how do Chelsea try and rectify this situation? Now, from within the bench, the 2 solutions immediately stand out. In defense, one is Josh Acheampong, and in attack, Estevao Willian. These 2 have to be reintegrated into the squad and become starters for the rest of the season. Now, we got only the Premier League. Yes, sure, the FA Cup, but I don't expect Chelsea to make any noise in the FA Cup, because our inability to beat the big teams has really been on show this season. So can we expect Chelsea to make noise in the FA Cup? Probably not, but in the league, we have to get the job done. We've got big games coming up, and this is where the likes of Estevao and Josh Acheampong will have to learn, right? This is where they'll have to stand up, make their personality count, and then just, if he makes mistake, if let's put it this way, if Josh Acheampong makes a mistake, I can put my hands up and say, you know what, fair enough, George. This is the learning curve. But if Tosin makes a mistake, you're like, how many more times am I going to see this on my screen? Please. I mean, that cannot work. And the only time that Josh Acheampong has actually gotten game time under Liam Rosenior has been playing at right back, and that's not his position. He's trying to hug the touchline and play as a proper right back like Malo Gusto. I mean, that cannot be the solution from Liam Rosenior's point of view. So that's got to change for sure. He has to be integrated as one of the two centre halves. Now, look, Trevor Chalobah is possibly out for the next 3 to 4 weeks, right? He twisted his ankle. He's out long term. Wesley Fofana, Chelsea need to see the back of him. I would rather give Josh Acheampong Wesley Fofana's role and say, here you go. This is Chelsea's model, right? We want to trust our youngsters, play the kids and all that. This is it. In the pressure moments where the failure to not get Champions League football, the failure to not have European nights under the bright lights of Champions League football would be catastrophic, considering how Chelsea's finances have been behind the scenes. It's been a real concern, and if we don't get that Champions League money, although Chelsea not getting Champions League football is not the worst thing, because then probably the board will wake up, because this season, man, in the back of winning the Club World Cup, everything was looking rosy for Chelsea. We had Champions League football. Estivao was coming in. We signed Joao Pedro. And then the rest of the window was absolutely trash, man. How could we mess it up? And the worst part is Chelsea have spent money. Now, if Chelsea didn't have money after Roman Abramovich and then the struggles followed, you can understand that. But the problems have all happened with Chelsea spending £2 billion. I mean, how is that allowed? Imagine you in any job of yours, you've lost 200,000 or $10,000. I mean, they would ask you crazy questions. They would probably put you behind bars. But only at Chelsea, only in football, where you can light millions, hundreds and millions on fire, and you'll be okay. You have job security for life by the looks of them, man. So from Chelsea's point of view, how do we get that solved? Failure to land Champions League football, maybe we start looking indoors as to what the problems have been. The recruitment has been shambolic, man. You look at our last 3 windows, there is so many problems. There's so many players that we haven't even seen take the pitch at Stamford Bridge. You know, that's the crazy part. Something like that, David Washington or Omari Kelly, man, just random players where Chelsea have spent money just to turn a profit. I mean, that cannot be the model anymore. Our transfers have to be targeted and, recognize it has to be for filling the gaps in the squad and strengthening our starting 11, not just buying these random kids, just drafting them, hoping they, come good one day. It does not work. It cannot work. Look, I'll give you the best example, right? Chelsea signed 16-year-old Kendry Páez from Ecuador. He is from Independiente. Now, Chelsea got him, put him on loan to Strasbourg, and now have sent him on loan back to River Plate in Argentina. Now, is that a good thing? He was the next best thing to come out of South America and light the world of fun. Thankfully, Chelsea doubled down and got Estevao Willian, right? But Chelsea's model needs exploration. Chelsea's model needs rectification, because this cannot carry on. It would be the second season, if we do not qualify for Champions League this season, 2 out of 3 seasons where we have not qualified for Europe's elite, man. That cannot be the norm. And once it starts becoming a habit, once it starts becoming a pattern, we are in real trouble, and then we're into obscurity. That's the problem, man. Hey, what's up, Manny? Looking fresh, but I'm sounding dull, dude. It is terrible, but this is therapy session, man. I have so much to get off my chest in terms of Chelsea. It has been the most topsy-turvy, up and down season. I mean, I'm going to take you back to the end of November. We were 3 points behind Arsenal. We were playing Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. That's how close we were, man. Things were going well. Even though we didn't have Cole Palmer, Levi Cole was out for the season. Even Joao Pedro was just dipping in terms of form. But still, 3 points behind Arsenal before we played them at the Bridge. 30th of November. I still remember the date. It all went pear-shaped there. Yes, we drew the game, but we went down to 10 men, and then our form just died, dude. The games heading into the New Year's got even worse. But that's why, in terms of highs and lows, it just shows you that there is a balance. There is a base at Chelsea. It's not as all doom and gloom, right? But Chelsea, in terms of self-destructing, pressing the self-sabotage button time and time again. And the problem is it has filtered throughout the organization. The top level, the players, the managers, everybody is hell-bent on pressing that self-destruct button. The number of red cards we have gotten this season, 7 in 28 games, now 7 in 31. A bit of discipline has finally come into Chelsea, but that's 1 every 4 games. Just imagine the number of games we just threw away. Brighton, I'll never forget that game. For the first 45 minutes, we were excellent. We were 1-0 up. It wasn't the best game in terms of, but Brighton had no threat. And then Chalobah gets a red card, and it all goes tits up. They lose 3-1. Danny Welbeck scored a brace. I'll never forget that game, man. It just showed me that Chelsea just had this soft underbelly, just this lack of game understanding in crucial moments. And then, of course, even Rob Sanchez getting that straight red against Manchester United 4 minutes into the match, man. That was the game where we were supposed to break our Old Trafford hoodoo, right? We haven't won there since what? Benitez, 2012, 2013. That's how long ago it was. This was a season where we're going to make that marker. Chelsea were on the up, Manchester United on the decline, and what do? We get a straight red card 4 minutes into the match. Enzo Maresca shits his pants, waves the white flag, takes off everybody in terms of attack, and then Chelsea lose that match, right? It was terrible, but there were so many other instances where Chelsea just kept pressing the self-destruct button. That towards the end of the season has to stop. We concede the most comical goals, man. Only Chelsea Football Club can do something like that. The goals we concede. I mean, where do you even start? I mean, you want to say individual mistakes, system mistakes. It's everything involved. It's just general panic. Both our goalkeepers, by the way, Philip Jorgensen, you do not want to see him at Chelsea Football Club, that's for sure. And then Rob Sanchez. I mean, look, a lot of questions will go about how Liam Rosenior is good at man management, right? And how he likes to put his arm around the shoulder and get everybody on side. Rob Sanchez was on trajectory to be Chelsea's player of the season because João Pedro was having a bit of dip and Rob Sanchez was bailing us out. Simply put, bailing us out. The number of saves he made was crazy. The crazy saves. But then Liam Rosenior comes in. He's asked Sanchez to almost become a third centre half in the middle to try get involved in the build-up. It's all gone pear-shaped, man. His shot stopping has been shocking. I mean, even his cross-claiming, the most elite attribute of Rob Sanchez has gone down the drain, man. Cross-claiming. We saw that against Arsenal. Oh, my word. How did we concede that second goal? I'll never know. But that has been... And then we saw the domino effect. Like, Liam Rosenior panicked. He said, okay, I need to make a statement. Let me get Philip Jorgensen into the starting 11. It backfired, man, and in spectacular fashion. Can you believe it? He started the game at the Parc des Princes. That is not serious from Liam Rosenior. As soon as I saw that decision, I mean, that cannot happen. Yes, he played him at Aston Villa. Chelsea won 4-1, right? He wasn't really tested, made a couple of saves, but Ollie Watkins had an off night. But in terms of starting Jorgensen at Paris Saint-Germain away, was a sackable offense, man. And we saw it. That third goal, Chelsea, for the 75 minutes we played, we were outstanding against the reigning champions. And then we just pressed the self-destruct button. 15 minutes to end. It was a nightmare to end. The 3 goals in 15 minutes killed it off. And then 15 minutes heading into Stamford Bridge, it was all over again. Another kamikaze goal where Mamadou Sarr could have not executed a simple clearance. Kvaratskhelia scores. And then it's 2-0, 3-0. 8-2 on aggregate, and Chelsea possibly not playing Champions League football next season as well. That would be our lasting memory. It was like when Frank Lampard lost 7-1 on aggregate against Bayern Munich in 2020. It was a tough pill to swallow, but it just showed you that Chelsea were not ready for the Champions League, right? But funny how things work, because the very next season Chelsea win the Champions League. Few players were obviously added. We had that crazy summer, and then Thomas Tuchel came in. So it's not always as bad as it looks, but then Chelsea need to make responsible decisions. They have to get everything right in the summer. We cannot have another summer like we have in the last 2 seasons. The wingers that we have purchased, Pedro Neto, 50 million. Estewa has been excellent. He's the only player that in terms of the wing players has delivered in some way, but he also 2 goals, that's all he scored, but that's how low the bar is. Pedro Neto, terrible. Garnacho, terrible. Gittins, no impact whatsoever. Our wingers, possibly some of the worst in the league. I would take Burnley's winger, and that's not an exaggeration. Jadon Anthony and who's the other guy on the right-hand side? I would take those 2 guys over the likes of Garnacho, Gittins, or even Pedro Neto. They are terrible footballers, man. How did we go shopping to Manchester United? Somebody has to explain to me. After the nightmare of Jadon Sancho, we go again to Manchester United and shop there. Why did we do that, man? 40 million quid just shows you that these directors cannot be trusted with more money. I mean, look, Chelsea have a grand total of 5 outstanding players in our squad. Reece James, Moises Caicedo, Cole Palmer, Joao Pedro, and I'm going to just give Estevao, I'm just going to put him in that bracket. But that's the 4. I'm not going to put Enzo Fernandez in there. Absolutely not, because as high as Enzo Fernandez's performances can be, but his lows are terrible. When Enzo Fernandez drops a stinker, oh my goodness me, he is the worst player on the pitch, and sometimes he's wearing the captain's armband. So it is a huge concern. So when people ask me, like, if Enzo Fernandez leaves in the summer, what will you think? Is that the end of the project? I think it would be good for us because, like I said before, Chelsea individually have good players, right? But it does not work in a system. Now, I'll give you the best example, and that is our midfield. Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, both very good midfielders in their own right. But when they play together, Chelsea do not win enough games, especially in that pivot where Enzo Fernandez was bought to play. Enzo Fernandez now playing as a number 10, as a box crashing role, maybe getting involved in the build-up a little bit, but it's more about him scoring goals rather than dictating play in midfield. Chelsea do not dominate the midfield anymore. You can see the gaping holes. It is an end-to-end game, 50-50 at best, so we do not dominate the games, right? So Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, good players, but do not work together. That's the unfortunate thing. And maybe, just maybe, Chelsea have to make that call because, look, Caicedo, for me, is Chelsea's best midfielder by far. Undroppable, first name on the team sheet, no problem, right? But now we have an Enzo Fernandez problem. Can we probably solve this internally with the likes of maybe Romeo Lavia, Andre Santos, or Dario Esugo being that replacement? I'm not sure. Do Chelsea need to dip into the market to buy a centre midfielder? Possibly. We need physicality, man. Look, I'm not saying we need to get a brute in midfield who just makes tackles and, we need someone who can play. That has to be the number one criteria. Can you receive the ball on the half turn, pressure on the ball, unlock defenses, line breakers, and the whole shebang-a-bang? We demand the best in midfield, right? So, but we need physicality. Someone who can get up and down the pitch, not be a defensive liability, not get Chelsea so wide open in the central areas. So there's so many different tweaks that Chelsea can and should be making. So it's absolutely imperative because squad building has been a huge problem for Chelsea, man. These directors have just signed players based on data sheets, spreadsheets, business model, analytics, and it's almost like they've never watched them play, how they approach the game, what they are as people, as personalities, right? They just say that, oh, he looks good on paper, he's value for money, let's go and get him on cheap wages and see if he can possibly, turn into a great player or flip him for a profit. That cannot be. That does not help Chelsea Football Club. It really doesn't. We are always stunted. We are always restarting the project. Every time you see a new manager comes in, restart the project. New players coming in, more youngsters into the team, restart the project. It is a never-ending cycle, and that is the most concerning aspect from Chelsea's point of view. He talked about the goals that Chelsea conceded, right? How do every Chelsea player, as I say, it cannot be just individuals. It has to be a systemic issue. Yes, we conceded some poor goals under Enzo Maresca, but this has been terrible. Now when we see Chelsea concede goals, you're almost like, you're not even in shock or disbelief anymore. It's almost like you expected it. When's the last time we kept a clean sheet under Liam Rosenior, man? It has been awful. We always concede the first goal as well. That's just been it's just how it is now with Chelsea. We always concede the first goal. That cannot be the case, man. We start giving. I know when Chelsea in the first 5 or 10 minutes when they play, which Chelsea is going to turn up, whether or not we're going to pick up points or we're going to lose games. It is so obvious because now we are so pedestrian in terms of the build-up play. It's lethargic. It's side-to-side bullshit. We've stopped scoring goals, man. That was something that you could always lean back on, saying that, you know what? But then when you just peel back into the surface, it's just Joao Pedro doing a madness, man. Joao Pedro was bailing us out time and time again. It's because of him that we turned it around against Napoli. We were 2-1 down, completely lacking ideas. That first half at Naples, I'll never forget. It was one of the worst football we have played. We were 2-1 down. We allowed Rasmus Højlund to score. That's how bad it was for us. But in the second half, it was the Joao Pedro show. So we have him to thank for. And then, of course, him having that excellent run where he just kept scoring goals, being exciting, being that player that we knew that when I laid my eyes on him first time in the Club World Cup, I knew that there is a special player in there. And the fact that he got off to a good start, just went downhill a little bit, picked up again. I expect him in the last 7 games for him to get at least 4 Premier League goals. And we need him to do that, because if you look at the rest of the team, where are the goals coming from? Cole Palmer, 9 Premier League goals, a hat-trick against Wolves to exchange in that. But yes, he's not played enough football. Enzo Fernandez, his goal-scoring touch has kind of deserted him, but of course he scored that brilliant goal against Paris Saint-Germain in that 75 minutes where Chelsea were amazing, but we threw it away in the last 15. Now, what needs to change from Liam Rosenior's point of view, right? I talked about the 2 personnel that absolutely must be integrated into the starting 11. Josh Achimpong and Estevan Willian. These 2 have to be starters now. This will show whether or not Liam Rosenior has learnt his lesson, or he's just going to be, for a lack of a better word, a coward and rely on players for quote-unquote experience, like the likes of Pedro Neto, Tosin Adarabioyo, Garnacho. I mean, these cannot happen. From what we have seen for this season, this cannot carry on. It's as simple as that, because if he makes the same decisions, the same results will happen. Chelsea will miss out on Champions League football and he'll get sacked. We start the same cycle again next season, and then it's just... Look, the worst part about all this, right, for me is, towards the end of last season, Chelsea were on the ascendancy and Manchester United were going through a car crash of a season. And fast forward 12 months, if I told you that the roles would be reversed after both clubs spending identical amounts of money, 200 million each, it has gone literally in the opposite direction. How can that happen? How have we allowed that to happen? Despite Manchester United's mismanagement, they are in a better position heading into next season. That is criminal negligence from our point of view, that we allow Manchester United to overtake us. Now the transfer targets will be looking at Manchester United and say, you know what, it might work. Look, from Manchester United's point of view, it's not all rosy as the points table suggests. I've seen them play. The cracks are there. It's going to emerge next season. Make no mistake about it. These players are playing a game a week out of all competitions. Everybody else are dead on their feet. United rock in every 7 to 10 games to play a Premier League game. Teams are getting red cards. United are getting penalties. I've seen this happen before. It is unsustainable. And next season, the real Manchester United will rear its head. So I'm sure about that. That will catch up. But the fact that they have overtaken Chelsea as it stands is laughable. It is shameful that we have allowed this, and it's not like Manchester United have been good. They've operated nicely or something. They have been terrible. Look at how their car crash of a season started under Ruben Amorim. They could not put together 2 games in a row. They did it only once in the entirety of Ruben Amorim's season, and they're still in a better position than us. That should tell you everything that you need to know. So Chelsea, fix up, man. That game at home at Stamford Bridge against Manchester United, I need to see which Chelsea turn up here. If for any reason there's more foolishness, Chelsea conceding more laughable goals, Chelsea not getting all 3 points in a game where we simply must win, right off the season, Liam Rosenior can get sacked, and let's just start the new process again and just put on this clown show again. Just put on that clown makeup, everything, the nose, the hair, the makeup, everything, and then roll back next season, because it could get really dark really soon. There's a lot of speculation on how Chelsea's players, in terms of who's going to stay for next season. Can these players even escape these long contracts that they've signed? Man, honestly, I'm not bothered. Like I said, Chelsea have 5 good players. The rest, if they leave, I could not care. That's how much apathy, that's how much distrust I have in this squad right now, because the way that they've down tools under Enzo Maresca, this is their 3rd manager for most of these players, right? Poch, Maresca, and now Liam Rosenior. Look, we are in such a bad position that we need to win 5 out of our remaining 7 games to match Pochettino's tally, and we were 12th for most of that season. 5 wins out of 7. Do you see that happening? No. So we're going to finish in a points. We're going to finish with a points tally below Maurizio Pochettino's Chelsea. That is awful. Just shows you that once again, once you just have a slight bit of ascension, the drop off is terrible, man. And it just shows you that it's going to be a continuous pattern if you make the same mistakes again. It's been fun. I got a lot off my chest. I mean, a 35 minute rant has certainly been special. But that's all things Chelsea. I mean, how we're going to try and solve that situation, we'll wait and see. I'm not sure, man. It's the worst part is the two games after the international break. I mean, sure, there's going to be a bit more fitness for the likes of Romeo Lavia, Andres Santos, Moises Caicedo, maybe Enzo Fernandez. They're not going to get a break much. Neither will Joao Pedro. Cole Palmer's possibly going to get involved in the thick of things. Reece James is out for possibly the entirety of the season now. It's a miracle that Reece James lasted this long. But then, unfortunately, it's his hamstring, and you never know what's going to happen soon after that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that turns up. But this has been fun. I needed to get a few things off my chest. So the last game I covered was the Carabao Cup final, right? And that was almost like a marker for Arsenal. Could they put a real stamp on Manchester City? Like, could they, with City, look, there was no Josko Guardiola, no Ruben Diaz, and no Mark Gahey. So they had to go with Kusunov and Nathan Aki as their two centre halves. So you almost felt that, yes, Arsenal with their two-pronged attack of Victor Gyökeres and Kai Havertz might have the solution. Hey, what's up, Yashi? Arsenal today's everything here. Tere muh mein ghee shakar, brother. I really hope so. But unfortunately, Arsenal are going to win the league and it's going to suck. I was hoping that not in my lifetime was that going to happen. But the law of averages catch up, man. Once every 23 years, a crazy event will happen, but it just feels like it's going to happen this year. Might as well make peace with it, and hopefully Arsenal crash and burn next season. That's my hope with it. Thanks a lot, Yashi, for joining in. What's up, brother? How's it going? Well, you talked about Arsenal, right? The Carabao Cup final, and what I loved about Pep Guardiola was the way he decided that I'm going to be as brave as I can be in this game, because I know that Mikel Arteta in the big games likes to be extra cautious. He's the one who likes to just take things a step back, even though he played with two strikers, right, in Kai Havertz and Victor Gyökeres. You knew that they would be withdrawn in the way that they played. So he preyed on that, the way that he identified that, yes, the first 20 minutes, Arsenal actually played some decent football. The way that Kai Havertz had to bury that chance and wasted that opportunity is something that's going to haunt them. And I just knew it. As soon as they missed that chance, I was absolutely certain that it was going to bite them in the ass, and it did, because you're not going to create so many chances especially against Manchester City and Pep Guardiola in a cup final. Yes, his team is certainly weakened, but the way that Rodri just slotted into the midfield alongside Bernardo Silva, and the levels in ball progression between Arsenal's midfield and City's midfield was chalk and cheese, man, because you saw the likes of Zubimendi and Rice struggle on the ball. Rice was still decent, but the way that Zubimendi hid in that match, I mean, you need to put an APB out on him, find him, because that is a missing person on a football pitch. And you compare that with the likes of Bernardo Silva and Rodri, who were relentless, always receiving the ball under pressure, keeping Arsenal pinned back. The back four could not figure out how to play out the back. Yes, the question of when Dyer's in the starting 11, does that change? It certainly does. And that first goal possibly does not happen if David Raya is in goal. But Arteta decided that that was the decision he's going to make. He wanted to be a good guy and not a ruthless one. And it costed him the cup final because Kepa chucks the first goal in. And from there, City get the second few minutes early, and it's Nico O'Reilly, man. We talked about trajectories, right, and changing of trajectories. Talked about Chelsea and Manchester United. Now you look at the left back settings for England, right? They had Miles Lewis-Kelly for Arsenal last season and Nico O'Reilly this season. Opposite trajectory again. Miles Lewis-Kelly last season was absolutely unbelievable at left back, and you just felt that he was going to make this gigantic stride going forward and then possibly break into the England setup. But then Arsenal decide that Calafiori is going to be fit and then invest in Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen, and Lewis-Kelly fell down the pecking order, and now Nico O'Reilly looks like a serious player in left back. Yes, he's a midfielder by trade, but Pep Guardiola has converted him into an absolute freak down that left hand side. Technical security, great engine, and his ability to strike the football is first class. He's a total footballer, and Pep Guardiola has certainly excelled in terms of making Nico O'Reilly a different profile of player. Fantastic. Trajectory changed, and Miles Lewis-Kelly has to be careful because just like Kobbie Mainoo, right, the stocks can be so high, especially with young English players, but then the fall is inevitable. How they deal with it is going to be absolutely crucial, because I can see the fall happening with Cole Palmer as well, right? Because for the last 2 seasons, he could not do anything wrong. Yes, he had that phase where he went a long period without scoring an open play goal, but then he was always influential for us on the pitch. But this season, yes, after that groin injury, you know that the player does not come back 100% fit, but you look at Cole Palmer and then you see there is a visible decline. He's still a great player for us, but there is a decline. So we have to be careful and manage his minutes and not just throw him to the wolves hoping that he's going to bail us out. So it's absolutely critical that Chelsea manage that aspect as well. So Liam Rosenior, there's so much for a young manager who's had very little experience at the top level. I mean, look at Chelsea, man. I mean, we've given an opportunity to Graham Potter and Liam Rosenior, 2 young English coaches. No other Big Six side does it, and we get absolutely no grace from the media. This thing, Chelsea need to stop this experiment, though. Chelsea need to get serious. The next managerial appointment, whenever that is, if they decide to stick with Liam Rosenior, we know, I mean, the Chelsea board is capable of foolishness, right? Wouldn't be surprised. But whoever the next manager is, Chelsea have to get that spot on, because if we don't, it's this never-ending cycle, a never-ending loop, and then Chelsea will be just in obscurity. And considering we won the Champions League, 5 years ago, it could get ugly in the next 5 years. So it could happen that quickly in football. Snowball effect is real. Momentum changes. Chelsea's image, right? The way that, a lot of people almost question, like, how do Chelsea keep managing to attract these young players into the project, right? And Chelsea clearly have a great PowerPoint presentation in the backroom stuff, that's for sure, because we saw a lot of the young players, even with the uncertainty of game time, still looking to join Chelsea on 7-8-year deals. Now, there is now enough evidence in the last 3 years that this project is nowhere near being taken off. This is still ground level stuff. We are nowhere close to the league or the Champions League. So players will be looking at moving to Chelsea as maybe even a stepping stone. That's very, very dangerous from our point of view, that players come from Europe, join Chelsea, and then look for the big move. We cannot let that happen. That is late Arsene Wenger stage Chelsea, and that is everything that we've mocked and everything that we're looking to become here. That cannot happen. Just playing Champions League football when we're not competitive in that level is worthless. We're going to get humiliated again. So maybe playing the Europa League is what the squad needs, because if you look at our squad depth, You look at our bench against Paris Saint-Germain, it was an absolute joke. I mean, you looked at what PSG brought on from the bench. Luis Enrique had riches on his bench, and you looked at our bench, and it was absolute trash. Garbage. We cannot let that continue. I mean, Liam Delap, 30 million quid, one Premier League goal. If he wasn't white, if he wasn't English, this guy would be thrown to the wolves. But because he has these two privileges, you never hear of him. 30 million. He replaced Nico Jackson for all the faults that Nicholas Jackson had. He scored 24 Premier League goals in 2 seasons. Liam Delap, in the trajectory that he's going in, it's going to take him 2 decades to get that tally. That's how bad it is. That's how terrible a signing he has been. Chelsea need to address that centre-forward market again. Now look, Chelsea again, we have made a few signings for next season already. Giovanni Kenda is coming in from Sporting Lisbon. Emega is coming in from Strasbourg, right? Young winger, young striker. Getting more youth into an already young squad. It seems like Chelsea are going to double down on the strategy until the wheels fall off, and the wheels are so close to falling off for the season. 7 games to salvage this from Chelsea's point of view. But if you look at the salvage, the word salvage is so charitable, because what do we do by just salvaging another season when there's no positives? There's nothing to look forward to next season when we know that this foolishness will continue next season. So from Chelsea's point of view, there's so much to do. I hope this international break, they take their time and reassess where we are as a club, find that identity back again, stick to principles, and then look to execute, because right now it looks hapless. There's no direction at the club. There's uproar everywhere you look. There's going to be protests organized as well. So oh man, it's going to be such a mess. The international break has come at the right time here for Chelsea. Take advantage of it, utilize it, go forward, possibly take wins, and then we can see what happens for the rest of the season. I'm expecting a car crash into this season, and this is only because I've seen Chelsea for the last 2 seasons. I know that this Chelsea side is capable of really good things, but also capable of foolishness. That's it from me from this stream. This has been a lot of fun, guys. Just something that I wanted to do because of the international break. There's no football. Talking on the fly, just talking about football and my beloved Chelsea. It's been hard. It's been terrible, but we're going nowhere. This is my club. This is where we belong. But this is where Chelsea need to make sure that we're back to being a serious club again. Otherwise, it's going to be Bangor FC.